because our system is designed to encourage, and new hopes for knowledge and peace are there.
I have a statement about the Geneva negotiation.
No, all three of the president, and we have them.
One bullet, or maybe two, or maybe three. On November 22nd, 1963, the most powerful man in the world was killed in broad daylight, in front of cameras, witnesses, and the Secret Service. And yet, more than 60 years later, no one can agree on who pulled the trigger.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You'll excuse the fact that I'm out of breath, but President Kennedy and Governor John Connally have been cut down by assassins' bullets in downtown Dallas. The president has rushed to Parkland Hospital.
So tonight, we peel back the curtain. Who really killed John F. Kennedy? And why are the answers still being hidden from us? Was it Lee Harvey Oswald, the so-called lone gunman? Or was he a scapegoat in one of the greatest cover-ups in modern history?
Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy.
Now here's where things get interesting.
Clear view of President Kennedy's motorcade as it traveled down Houston Street. Surprisingly, he didn't fire immediately. Instead, he waited until the presidential limousine turned onto Elm Street, where his line of sight was partially blocked by trees. The report states that Oswald fired 3 shots from a 6.5mm Mannlicher Carcano rifle. The first shot reportedly ricocheted off a tree branch, landed near a railway bridge, and even struck a bystander. The second and third shots struck the president, with the third proving fatal. Footage analysis suggests Oswald fired all 3 shots in just 8.4 seconds. Here's where it gets controversial. The infamous single bullet theory claims the second shot passed through Kennedy's neck, exited his throat, hit Governor Connally in the back, traveled through his ribs, took a 45-degree turn, pierced his wrist, and finally lodged in his thigh. Critics mockingly call this the magic bullet theory, arguing the bullet's path, zigzagging through 2 men in 7 layers of clothing, defies basic physics. The third shot struck Kennedy in the head, blowing out the right front of the skull. This horrific moment was captured by Abraham Zapruder, a Dallas dressmaker filming the motorcade at the time. But here's the twist. Multiple witnesses reported seeing a puff of smoke near a grassy knoll by a white picket fence, just feet from where Zapruder stood. This detail fueled conspiracy theories about a second gunman and even a possible 4th shot, contradicting the official narrative.
Dallas, November 22nd, 1963. The President of the United States is dead. Panic spreads across the city. Sirens wail, police scramble, and within minutes, the hunt begins, and just 40 minutes later, a 24-year-old former Marine named Lee Harvey Oswald is already in handcuffs. But here's the question: how did police find him so fast in a city of nearly 1 million people? Witnesses claim they saw a gunman in the Texas school book depository, but the description was vague: a slender man, mid-20s. That could have been hundreds of men in Dallas. Yet somehow, officers zeroed in on Oswald. First, they say he was spotted calmly leaving the building. Then, a patrol officer named J.D. Tippit was mysteriously gunned down just blocks away. Minutes later, Oswald is cornered inside the Texas Theater, where dozens of terrified moviegoers are caught in the chaos.
Arrested a 24-year-old man, Lee H. Oswald, in connection with the slaying of a Dallas policeman, J.D. Tippit, shortly after President Kennedy was assassinated.
Minutes after Lee Harvey Oswald was dragged out of the Texas Theater, the world thought the case was closed. The man accused of assassinating the president was behind bars. But what no one knew was that Oswald wouldn't live to see a courtroom. Out of nowhere, a man in a dark suit steps forward. A pistol flashes. A single shot cracks through the chaos. Oswald gasps, collapses, and the nation watches in horror as the prime suspect is silenced forever. The shooter? Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner with shadowy ties to organized crime. And just like that, The man who cried, "I'm just a patsy," was gone, taking his secrets with him to the grave.
Lee Oswald has been shot.
I think he got what he deserved if he's the one that did it.
It is difficult to say how long it will take for the full realization of what happened to really sink in.
Oswald may have pulled the trigger, or maybe he didn't. But either way, there are whispers that he wasn't the mastermind. Behind him stood bigger players, the kind of enemies you don't see until it's too late. And in Kennedy's short presidency, he made more than a few. JF Kennedy didn't trust his own intelligence agency. After the disastrous Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961, he reportedly told close aides he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. For an agency built on secrecy, that was a declaration of war. Kennedy had refused to give them the full-scale military support they demanded for Cuba, and he began pushing back on covert operations worldwide. Is it really unthinkable that an agency with unlimited resources, deep ties to shadow governments, and a track record of regime changes might have turned its sights on its own president? Then there's the mob. Few people know that organized crime actually helped the Kennedy family rise to power. Through union deals, vote pushing, and under-the-table favors, mafia bosses expected loyalty from the White House. But once in office, Robert Kennedy, the president's brother and attorney general, launched the most aggressive anti-mafia campaign in US history. Arrests, trials, surveillance. He was choking the mob at its roots. So imagine their betrayal. They helped create the Kennedy dynasty, only to be hunted down by it. And then, just days after JFK's death, a nightclub owner with mob ties, Jack Ruby, silences the accused assassin forever. Coincidence? Or
he was
payback?
quickly rushed.
But the mafia wasn't the only powerful enemy Kennedy had made. In October 1963, just weeks before his death, JFK signed National Security Action Memorandum 263, a plan to begin withdrawing US troops from Vietnam. For the military-industrial complex, the billion-dollar alliance of defense contractors, weapons manufacturers, and generals, this was a nightmare. No Vietnam War meant no massive contracts, no endless profits. And days after Kennedy's death, that withdrawal plan was quietly reversed. Instead, the US escalated into one of the bloodiest wars of the 20th century. Did Kennedy die because he threatened the profits of the most powerful machine in America? And finally, what about America's enemies? The Soviet Union was humiliated by Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis, forced to back down on the world stage. Cuba itself despised Kennedy after the Bay of Pigs. To them, JFK wasn't a young hero, he was the enemy. Could Fidel Castro have sought revenge? Could Moscow have pulled the strings? The Warren Commission dismissed these theories. But here's the chilling thought. If a foreign government orchestrated the hit, admitting it might have meant World War III. So maybe the truth had to be buried. So was it the CIA, the mafia, the generals, or even a foreign power? Each had the motive, each had the means. And yet, to this day, no one has been held accountable.